Hi, it's Gadget UK here again. An exciting video this time, courtesy of Arek and Stephen Leary. Stephen Leary, I think, helped package this and send this off. But Arek, the guy who created the keyboard and USB stuff for this, you know, the TFMSX that is, worked on the code for this. I think maybe Stephen did the layout of the board, I'm not sure, but in fact I need to check with that. I'll confirm that in a minute. I'm just looking at that chip, I don't recognise the manufacturer on it at all. It's like CH32V303. Is that an ARM based thing? I think it is. Just looking at this, I've just tested the TFMSX here, switch it on, got Operation Wolf in, that's powering up okay. If I just take the cart out, I was trying to work out which way around this cart goes, and if you look at the PCB here, we've got the third and the fourth connection there. There's like they're just bridged together. And looking at this nice new PCB here, the third and the fourth there are bridged together. If I flip it over the other way, there's a few down here that are bridged together, power lines and grounds and things, but nothing up there. So logic says it's got to go in that way. So yeah, it's a flash cart for the MSX. I assume we're going to stick a USB stick in with something on there. I don't know if there's anything, like there must be a ROM built in, default menu or something. So let's just give it a try. We know we've got it in the right way with respect to that. So let's plug the power in. LED, that's good. Oh wow, I've actually got a Konami thing flashed onto it or something. Ah, I get it. So you probably flash individual games to this, maybe. But listen to the music. It's using the what's it called? I can't remember the name of it now. Is it SCC? Yeah, I need to go and find a controller. But we've got the SCC music coming through automatically. It's just working. The interesting thing about that is I thought I would have to modify this board to support the SCC, but clearly on this beta version that I have here, Stephen got it right in terms of the audio stuff. It sounds amazing. Unless it's not using SCC, maybe it's just using the PSG, but I don't know. I need to go watch some videos, I think, to compare this. That's awesome. Absolutely awesome. I'm going to go and get a controller. Yes, I plugged a controller in and hit fire. Ironically, well, not really ironically, I'm using the controller that came from Stephen Leary, actually. He sent me a couple of these, which is very kind of him, following the TFMSX. There'll be a link to the review of this stick above. I'm sure that's using the SCC. I'm sure it's not PSG. Got to hold down fire, haven't you? So yeah, it's a wee bit jerky, this game, in terms of the, you know, scrolling and stuff here. Fantastic. I need to ask you a question about how you flash it and what the USB port is for. That's very cool. It plays quite well. Yeah, it's slightly jerky in the, you know, when you steer towards edges of things, but it controls really well. Oh, the grass then. You blew him up. Surely that's a yellow card or a yellow flag or whatever it's called. Oh. Yeah, you can just crash into them, seemingly. I don't know whether we've got a damage indicator on our car or not. You know, driving really slow here. Engine packed in. Yeah, it has. Or has it? Yeah, we say empty. I run out of fuel, I think. Must have run out of fuel. That's really cool though. I am amazed, it just works. Right, so normally you would press, I think, the Alt key or Alt GR, and it doesn't work. And I think my TFMSX is the problem, it needs the firmware updating. Now, I can do that later. I'm a bit reluctant to do that just now because I remember it being a stressful process. It's not hard if you know what you're doing, but you know what? I don't often flash that type of chip. The one on the MSX that is not on here. What I'm going to do, I'm going to try and attempt, so I was looking here, it says flash. I'm going to attempt to just cut the legs down on this so that this fits perfectly in position there. Bend them down, and I'm going to mount that on there. I've checked, when you press the button, it joins, you know, this side, hang on, the bottom side to the top side. Looking at this here, you can see two of them go to, I think, the ground or VCC rail there on an inner layer, yeah, the bottom side, and this side here, both are joined together and come down this way. So that's the way it would seem to work. You've got to join that to that or that to that in order to get action. I've just asked Arek, will that work or not? See what he comes back with. He says no, because now the MSX side controls if you enter flash or not. Oh, that's so annoying. So there's no point in even doing that. Oh. My advice to Arek in this video would be to retain, if you can, that connectivity, because then you've got the best of both worlds. For people like me who you know, have got a keyboard issue, then I could in theory hold that button down as I connect the power and it would go into the menu in order to flash it. So yeah, that's going to be pointless putting that on there, isn't it? So I'm going to have to update the firmware on this, and this is a revision 1, so you know, I'm a bit concerned. I'll ask Arek, will the later firmwares work on this Rev 1? And I think the program points were here, and if memory serves, because it's an ARM chip, I need to go and get the blue pill programmer. I think I could be wrong there. I've got a little adapter and then the programmer that I think will work with that, and use the ARM, I forgot what it's called now, I don't know, you'll see it in a minute, the ARM software, to put a different firmware on there. Then hopefully the keyboard will be right. So yeah, I'll just drop him a message now and ask him where I can get the latest firmware and will it work with revision 1. At this point in the video I was using this tiny keyboard here. It's not got the same number of keys as a USB keyboard would usually have, and that was the issue. I was missing the key which corresponds to the graph key on the TFMSX. And yeah, and the key that I needed to hold down was this one, the right Windows key. That is the graph key on the MSX when you're using the TFMSX, that is. If you've got a genuine MSX, obviously you'll have a key that's marked graph or something that you can hold down. So I showed you've got to hold down the right Windows key on a USB keyboard with a TFMSX, or the graph key on an actual MSX. You can see I installed the button there. I'll talk more about that later, and some jumpers which we'll install in a little bit as well. I formatted a USB stick here. I went with 8 gig, and I've labelled it up MSX, copied all my ROMs into the root there. But as you'll see in these direct captures here, you hold down the graph key, or the right Windows key on this keyboard here, and you get a menu. And the menu, there's 2 different ways that can work. It's long file name support initially, but that causes me some issues, so this is why we need to update it in a little bit to get 8.3 short file names. And then you just select a ROM and choose the mapper, gives you a list of the mappers, and it flashes. It really is that simple. It does take 20 or 30 seconds for some of the larger ROMs. And if the game doesn't work after you've selected a mapper, you can go back into the menu again, hold down the graph key as you power the machine on, and when the menu pops up you can press 1 to get the list of mappers, and you can just change the mapper. You don't necessarily need to reflash it if you'd selected the wrong mapper. I want to show you, I've got a bit addicted to playing this game. I'm up to stage 10, the cavern. It's really good, despite the fact that the scrolling is not... Can you go downwards here? Yeah, you do. Up, yeah, despite the fact the scrolling's not great. Well, non-existent. It's like a screen at a time. Rear, I think. I like the rear one, because you can point in a different direction than you anticipate. You can choose one of those things when you're moving away. Oh, that's it, game over. There we go, we got to stage 10. So cool. So I'll do a direct capture as well so you can hear the sound directly. Sounds amazing. I think Arek's absolutely nailed it. It's incredible. I love it. Yeah, so my initial thoughts with this is it's just amazing. One thing I think, and Arek was asking for some feedback here on testing, one of the things they did find is, you know, you put some folders on there with files in, and I've done that. If you try and stick too many files in the root, it kind of causes problems. Well, I think the issue when I tried that was one of the files had some character in it. It may be in just a space or a plus, it might be the length of the character, but there was a problem with one file. I'm not sure which one it was now. And it stops the directory listing. It just makes the page scroll up. It's like a control character, and it's interpreted as a, you know, page forward or something. And the menu just disappeared, and I'm like, what's going on here? And eventually I put them into separate folders, and then found that the folders all listed okay. And then it was only when I went into one specific folder that a file in there caused the same thing, where the screen went upwards. So there's a teething problem there to address in terms of, you know, the file management, handling unusual characters, you know, control codes and things like that. And then the other thing, I would suggest that there's a position for a button here. I think that's disabled. Originally the intention was you held this button down when you power it on to get into the menu. I think you should just allow both methods there, the keyboard method, but also, if it's possible, allow us to stick a button on there. You know, I can program the flash on this. I think I've got everything I need, maybe just a USB cable to go to this. I've got the software. So if he wanted to update that, you know, I can test it here for him, and I'll suggest that to him. But I think it's really handy having a button on there to get quickly into the menu, because you might not always, certainly in this case here, not have a keyboard connected up. But as we found with the TFMSX, and probably other clones and things like that, it's not that easy trying to find which key to press, you know, the graph key. It would be the same issue with the Mister, probably. I'm sure there's a key that does it, but trying to find that key on the keyboard, it's a bit awkward compared to just holding that down. Yeah, so I changed the angle there slightly, and the keyboard I'm using here, I've got to hold down the right Windows key, you know, the right one with the Windows symbol on it, to get into this menu on power on. So anyway, let's just try, hang on a minute, it's not listing the folders here now, is it? Like any of them, that's weird. I'm just going to reseat the USB drive in case that's something to do with it, and try going back into the menu again. Ah, there we go. Yeah, the TV sometimes scrunches up like this, but yeah, there's nothing to do with the MSX or this card. Let's just try and load Contra. There we go. Not sure which one to do. Let's try. We'll start from the bottom up, I think. Press return. It's a Konami with SCC. Programming. Flashing away there. All those lights are on, blinding me. It's so bright, those LEDs, I tell you. There you go. Most of them have gone off, I think, apart from one. Yeah, and we got the Konami thing up there. I'll deal with that scrunched up screen in a minute. One of these is a cheap version, I know that because I tested this before. Let's just see, is it this one? It's this one, because it's this Let Rest 99, it's 99 lives, so you know what, I don't want the cheap version, I want the normal version, so we'll do the middle one this time if I can. There we go, that's booted. We've got the right size screen now as well, which is handy. So let's have a go at this. I have been playing this, and I quite like it, even though it's a flip screen version. You'll see what I mean if I start this. It's a really cool version. It's making me want to play this on the NES and other systems that have this game. Yeah, so it flips the screen like that. should I got there? That's it, hold down fire. Machine gun. So, yeah, and I can get quite far on this. Awesome. I love it. I'm going to play so many hours on this, I'm sure. I expect no videos for the next 3 months. There you go here, that way, hang on, that way. Oh, you've got to jump to hit the power thing, whatever it is, there we go. Konami nailed it with this game, didn't they? I mean, they nailed it with so many games. They had so many good ideas. Yeah, a number of times I have managed to, like, almost, you know, 1 credit the first 6 or 7 levels. Unless I 1 credit, you only have 1 credit, I think. I don't think it allows continues. Could be wrong. Yeah, I think you just get the lives you have and that's it, you don't get continues. Yeah. So cool. I remember playing this a bit on the Spectrum, the Grisor it was called, wasn't it? As it had to be renamed, I think. I'm not sure why that was. Some sort of licensing restriction, or it could have been there was another game with the same name or similar name or something. Yeah, so you can shoot the entrance, you can also shoot that thing above, that little row of things, I'll show you that. But if you've got the rear shooting thing, obviously, when you're stood here like this, you shoot in both directions. So, yeah, it's just far easier. Shoot that. Yay. It's a shame you don't get more health as you go along. I don't think you do. I don't think you can pick up any more health. Yeah, so between levels, you know, you've got the same exact amount of health that you left the level with, you know, previous level. You don't gain any more. And I'm out of lives. Anyway, you get the idea. It works damn well. Yeah, and the next game I'm testing here, Space Mambo. Stephen Leary tested this game using an official, you know, a genuine cartridge actually on the TFMSX. Yeah, so that's just demo. Lovely scroll in there from the VDP. I think this game still works without the later VDP, but you just get the characters at the block, you know, scrolling rather than the nice smooth edge there. But this is really one of the first true tests of the TFMSX for me. It sounds very much like that game that there was a conversion, wasn't there, an English translation? Another Konami game, I think, actually. It was an RPG, a Japanese one, on the MSX. Sorry, not the MSX, the Nintendo Famicom. And you can convert it to English and play it on the NES, you know, and the EverDrive will do that now as well. But that's got a Konami custom on there. And it sounds very, very similar. Some of the melodies and sounds that are coming from this chip, the SCC, sound very similar to what's on that. Lagrange Point, that's what it's called. There'll be links to that video top right. Yeah, it sounds very, very, very similar. It may have this exact same hardware, I don't know. Anyway, let's have a quick go of this. Wow, they move pretty fast at you. So again, this is one of those games that does work with the Mega Drive pad and the adapter, not just a Mega Drive pad. Don't plug a Mega Drive pad straight into anything other than a Mega Drive. Trust me, you could have a bad day. Maybe not on this system, but certainly on the C64 or VIC-20, you'll kill the CIA probably. Oh god, that's quite hard. Where did that go? Why isn't it going? There we go. Oh. Lots of nice detail. I like the way there's tracks. If you watch the tracks, see the way they bob up and down with the ground. Oh yeah, sorry, I did not land on the controller. I bobbed up and down into the vehicle. Speed, is it? Yeah. What's that? Is that a mine or something that was following me, I think? Very reminiscent of Iridium. The mine, that is, not the game. Oh. Oh. Bullets coming from behind. Oh. Option, maybe? Yeah. Don't know what that was, I missed it. The thumb's getting sore hitting the fire button. I need auto fire enabled. Which is something I can do with the adapter here from James, actually. So let's see if we can get to a boss. I assume there's a boss at the end of each round. God, that was hard. Come on, blow up quick! Okay. Boss, is it? Yeah. Sounds like boss music to me. Did you shoot that, maybe? Looks like it. No. Oh, it was going so well. At least you can continue on this game, which is cool. Let's try F5. Yep, the keyboard works. Yeah, so trying a few different games on here. Different mappers. This is 48K, using the 48K mapper. and that works perfectly. I'm experiencing some issues with the interface here, like it should go A, B, blah. Where's the A? It's not showing A there, which is weird. You can go into A. Anyway, if we go to MSX2, 0, yeah, 1942. Yeah, I followed that. Let's do that one. I've tried it with the 16K, it didn't work, but Neo 8K, even though it's 128K ROM, it must be using an 8K paging mechanism or something. So we'll do Neo 8K. So this is using the ASCII mapper here, I think. Yeah, it's still programming. It is 128K, there we go. So yeah, granted, the display is scrunched up again. Why it does this, I don't know. It drives me nuts, this TV. Seriously does. There we go. The weird thing with this is the controller works, look. There's a bug with this game, I don't know, on the TFMSX, one or two. You can start the game, and then the controller stops working, I think. Yeah, look, controller's not working now. You could start it with it, but it's not working, which is weird. I've tried it near the port, it doesn't work either. But the keyboard works. It's not a bad version, this. Obviously, it's for the TFMSX2, not the TFMSX2, the MSX2. It's an MSX2 ROM, hence the nice smooth scrolling. I don't think there's any custom sound or anything on this chip, but I don't know. I don't know enough about the ASCII chips. I don't think there is. Yeah, so it's using the built-in audio, the standard sound you get on an MSX, if there's such a thing, because I don't think they all had exactly the same sound, did they? But they were largely compatible with whatever chips they were on the different revisions of MSX. Oh, power up, I think, if I can get this red once. It's not a bad version, this. Quite like it. Nice and fluid. The sound's having a bit of a seizure here. It's just that large plane just coming to the screen. Bit of flicker. It's not bad though, is it? You'd be pretty pleased with this as a kid if this was the port of 1942 you had. Yeah, I can't get Aliens working. I was hoping to get that working there. I think it's called Alien 2. If I go back through here again, I assume that's A. Yeah, Aliens. Like, try that. See, it's 128K. I'm not sure what mapper it uses. It says Square there. It's Square Enix. What mapper did they use for that? Maybe it uses that Neo 8K, because that other 128K game used an 8K, that 8K mapper, which is not what you'd expect. You'd think it'd be a much larger mapper. Oh my god, that worked with the Neo 16K mapper. I'm impressed. Everything's working here. So, I've got the same problem again with the video. Cheers, Sony. Thanks for creating a TV that squashes the video up on standard definition displays like a percentage of the time, with no rhyme or reason. Maybe there's a fault with it. I don't know, I'm blaming Sony. Maybe it's not Sony's fault. Maybe there's actually a fault with this TV, but I don't think so. It's just when you have standard definition stuff. Look, it's just like I have to keep reconnect, disconnect, reconnect, disconnect, reconnect until, well, it works. There's Ripley. Apparently in the nude. I don't remember that in Aliens. So we press up to jump. Yeah, if you're not aware of this, it's pretty unheard of, this game, you know. You can get it on the NES as well, I think, or someone did a port to the NES, I forget which. What's that? I don't know, I've rolled over it and collected it, I don't know. Strange choice of colour for Ripley's attire. Yeah, 16K or 8K, whatever it was I chose there. So yeah, we're spoilt for choice here, but like, you see there's a blank one there, what's that? So it ends at P, and then it starts R, so I'm guessing that's Q. So why can't it display cues? These are the points I'm going to point out to, things, issues I'm going to point out to Arek. I presume that's R. No, it's not, it's Q. Sorry, yeah, we knew it was Q. Yeah, so go back. Qbert. We could try that. It's a 32K ROM. So we'll do standard 32K. So this is the thing, it's not just the SCC support it provides, it's got all those different mappers, and generally all the cartridges are trying here, they all work. Scrunched up video again, cheers Sony. There we go. Finally. Crazy music fits how difficult it is to get that screen to display properly sometimes. Wow, this is not a version of Qbert I'm familiar with. Why is the joystick not working again? What's going on? It seems like the tiles just flip you off. Hang on. What is going on here? Every time I press swap it's doing that. Yeah, the controller is doing weird stuff again here. I can go up and down, and I can go up and down here. This is what I'm not following here. I had some experience of this when I was testing the TFMSX earlier. It might be a bug in the TFMSX, or the firmware for the keyboard. I don't know. Let's try the keyboard. Oh, you've got to press diagonal. That's crazy. Yeah, you've got to move diagonally. If you press down or up or press fire, the tile just... hang on. Yeah, the tiles flip over. This is a crazy version of Qbert, isn't it? I'm not sure I'm even working out what I'm doing here. What? I don't know. I can lose my mind playing this version of the game. Like, do you get them all like that? I think you do, but then how would you know whether you're getting them the right way? I'm not sure, like that one there, which way is that supposed to rotate to get it to rotate the right way? I don't know. You see, the way Qbert usually works is you just jump onto the tile and it just alternates between colours, doesn't it? This is like, depending on which way you approach the tile, depends on which way it rotates. Oh, like that one there, I just can't, hang on, I'm going to say I can't get them to rotate the right way. Like, what is the aim of... I'm not sure what that means. Like, those ones at the bottom, they just don't rotate the right way. They do. If you hop on them and off them, then they do. How did they even end the round? I don't know what I did. What did I do? Right, so I've got the wrist strap on. I'm going to try and update the firmware, I think. I've just been sending messages to Arek to let him know. One of the issues, like I say, is about when you've got 32-bit, long file name support. What's happening is, when you get like a black screen or it scrolls up, it's escape sequence characters and things like that, and control codes. I think one of them's changing the colour of the text, so the menu just appears like with one file name, and it's all in black. And you can move the cursor up, down, and you can select one of them, but you can't see what you're selecting. The other bug I noticed is when you go into a directory, if you're on, say, the second directory down, you go into another subdirectory, it automatically goes to the second page down. So it's not resetting the page, which page you're on when you're going through a folder structure there. So, in fact, I need to send him that message now. I've not told him that one. I mentioned that my idea that if this button was enabled here, you've got two ways of getting in there. That for me would be really cool. And then the final thing is that joystick. If the joystick worked, instead of just the arrow keys, with the fire button to select, you could do it all just via the joystick, and that would be a cool thing as well. But Arek said he's experimented with the file name filtering stuff, and FAT32 Ultimate library would need a lot of work, a lot of rewriting. So, and he tried to filter characters out, and it was proving a problem. So I think he said he reverted it to, the 8 point whatever, 8 characters support, which is limited, but at least you can then navigate, and it won't have these issues where it scrolls the screen up, or the font goes black, or something. It's the MSX is interpreting those characters as, let's say, control codes, and not really interpreting them, that's what they are. They're being displayed as, you know, control codes, you know, something to scroll the screen, you know, end of line, etc. Change the background colour or the foreground colour, etc. Not necessarily the background colour, because I haven't seen any evidence of that, but I've seen a black screen. Yet you can navigate and select things. So I'm going to put a jumper on here. I don't know what I'm doing here. I'm going to put a jumper on here. I'm going to use a USB-C cable to plug into here. I've just measured that on my cable here, and it goes to the regulator. It's powered. It goes through a fuse. Yeah, so that's nice. That's fused through the connection. In terms of the AMS 11173 3.3 volt regulator here, pin 1's ground, the middle is 3.3, and the right pin is 5 volts, and that corresponds to the cable that I'm going to plug in there. But you need this jumper bridged here before you can program, I think. So I'm just going to put a 2-pin header there. I think what I'm going to do actually is put this angled 2-pin header so that it, you know, it fits facing sort of downwards there, just to keep it sort of, you know, a slightly lower profile, if that makes sense. But I figure I'm probably going to be updating this more than once. Famous last words. I might not need to. I don't know what changes he's done in the last 2 weeks, but I mean, I've had this longer than 2 weeks, and I did notice on his GitHub it was updated 2 weeks ago. So, and he did just say to me, you know, he's ditched the long file name support for the moment, just because he's got other things in life, which you know, everybody does. He's got, you know, other projects he's interested in, limited time. He figured that it probably wasn't worth the time. You know, I sort of agree with that. That if it's a considerable amount of work, why would you want to spend a considerable amount of work when it works? You know, if that ain't broke, don't fix it. It would be nice to have long file name support, but it's the cost associated, isn't it, ultimately? If something's going to take you a crazy amount of time, that time could be spent on other things, maybe even other features for this. You know, I would rather he spent that time, if I'm honest, trying to get joystick working in the menu. That's a far better, more useful feature, because you could work out what things are with short file name, you know. Anyway, that's that on. I may as well just clean up as we go along. So hopefully I'm not going to fry this when I connect it to my computer, and hopefully I'm not going to break it. I can't see how that would happen. My only fear is this, you know, I've missed something with the voltage there on the pin out, because I'm going to be, let's say, connecting this up with a phone type cable to my USB-C port on my computer. I'm just worried about the implications of male-to-male type scenario. Do you see what I mean? I mean, you'd think not. You'd think if this, you know, here's an example. It's like, you know, I've got a battery bank here. It's charging my phone at the moment. Let's just unplug it. And we guess we could test this now. No, we can't. Yeah, we can. No, we can't. Yeah, it's outputting here. Mind you, it might be inputting if we put it that way around. Let's just put it that way around. So the USB-C is in there. If that was, if my theory was right, I mean, what's the worst case here is the fuse might blow. Let's just plug this in and see, is this going to illuminate or not? No, it's not. So, yeah, I think power doesn't come out of this. It's a one-way street. I just wondered what that was. It was the way. The wrist strap was just touching my leg, and I thought the battery bank had just set on fire or something. Yeah, so it's not working that way. But the idea is, you see, to plug that in there, hang on, and plug that into the PC. I'm just wondering if my phone will power it, because this should power USB-C thing, shouldn't it? Let's try that. No. It may well be powered, but it might not be doing anything. Of course, you shouldn't really risk doing things like that, because you could blow your phone up. But anyway, I'll portal it at least. I'm going to go and try that. I'm going to plug that in and see what happens. And of course, it may need this jumper here. What does this jumper do? Maybe the jumper feeds the power over. I don't think it does. And on my dusty PC here, you can see I plugged the USB-C cable from the phone in there, and it immediately lit up, and the software has detected it. I'll program it now. I was following the instructions on the GitHub page. There'll be a link down below to that. It's just a case of opening the software. You can download the software for free from the manufacturer of the chip, you know, their website. Connect up the carton the way that I did, and you just select the ROM, and there's just a few options you change, and then you hit download, I think. Right, so let's see if the fruits of my updating labour have paid off there. Yeah, be careful handling these things when you're moving from room to room and stuff, you know, careful holding it like that, just to make sure I don't short anything. Wrist straps on, need to pull the jumper off. I'm just going to just put it on one pin, and let's plug it back in. So, yeah, it's facing forward like that with the LEDs forward. Get our USB stick in. So it was on 2.16, wasn't it? It should be 2.17 now. Yep, it's not booting. Uh-oh. Switch back on again. That's not good. I'm thinking maybe the ROM that it's flashed with has got a problem now. Let's just try holding the menu button down, because you know what, maybe the structure's changed and I need to do something. Yeah, it's loading the menu now. It could be the last game that I programmed on. Can you see here though, that's A. Why is A not displaying? So there's, even though we're on 2.1.7, we have updated it there. That's worked, that's good. There's still a bug, so I'll point that out. So the other page down, that's alright. I don't know why A doesn't appear though. Oh, that's mysterious. Why would A be a problem? I think he said you press 9 and it should go short file names. Let's try that. Yeah, so short file names, look, it's alright. So you know what? Maybe I can live with that. My recommendation is put it in short file names to start with, actually. Yeah, it gets quite confusing where the size is mixing with the file name. So that's a change I would do there. Just truncate it, even though you know you're trying to display the maximum amount. Just cut off so that there's a gap in between the sizes of the ROMs and the ROMs. That just makes it easier to see. So I'll point that out. But anyway, let's go back to the 8-bit file names here. Let's just see if we can navigate in here. You see, I'm not sure whether that's SCC. We'll try it with SCC. I'm not sure if there's a version of Proteus with the SCC. I know lots of these ROMs were modified, that seems to be good, modified by people over the years to, you know, enable SCC support. Yeah, that's just the standard MSX sound, isn't it? It's a weird version of Parodius, this. So many games in that series though. Let's just try one of the other versions there, so we'll hold the graph key down, the Windows right symbol. Sounds different, doesn't it? Yeah, that's using SCC now. Oh, cool. Fantastic. I much prefer it with SCC. It's a no-brainer, isn't it, really? Oh, don't move around it in an irritating way. Speed up. Changes it, doesn't it? Completely when you use SCC sound. I'm so pleased, because this has really opened up the TFMSX to me. And I guess if you've not got TFMSX, if you've just got an MSX, it's going to open up the MSX to you. It's going to allow you to play all these cartridges. And there's loads of bits of homebrew you can play as well, you know, I've shown some of that before. And here we are again, fitting another jumper. Yeah, I'm just reading the wiki. Apparently the long file name thing, you can force it into the short file name with a jumper. The RX and TX, you know, serial receive transmit there. Of course, you could fit jumpers for both the, you know, the two positions here if you wanted to communicate with a serial cable rather than there, but USB serial, just use the USB is my advice to you there. Because I'd like to force it into the short file name thing, because, well, then it'll display a bit better from power on instead of me going, I can't see the menu entries are missing, etc. It's yeah, it's just easier than having to keep pressing 9. I'm assuming the 9 still works to toggle it back into long file name. There we go. Get our jumper on. I'm really pleased with this car though, it's absolutely amazing. It's done such an incredible job with this. He really has. There are lots of other cart options on the MSX, you know, things like the Carnivore, but there's like 4 or 5 other options I've seen. Some of them, you know, well, many of them open source, so you can build them. Yeah, like the Carnivore. I was going to try and buy a Carnivore, and there's a few different carts that guy sells. There might be a link. I'll post a link down below to his web shop, but they're always out of stock when I've been looking, ever since COVID. Shortages of some of the chips around that time meant that, for whatever reason, he never continued even after COVID. He never really seems to have done another batch, which is a shame on things like that. And that's working a similar way to this, but I think what that was doing is using an FPGA to replicate things like the SCC. And you can argue, you know, it's got a lot more functionality with things like the Carnivore. But this is, you know, the sort of thing you can build yourself. The parts are really cheap, it's affordable. And yeah, in terms of cartridge stuff, it does everything you want, really. I haven't found anything I can't actually run on this yet, so I'll switch it on, see what happens. No, that hasn't worked, has it? It hasn't defaulted to the, you know, press 9. So, unless the jumper's not on right, I might just try reseating that. Yeah, trying some of the older games here, smaller ones. I think this is like a 32K game. Works fine. It's not a bad version of this, but it doesn't have the speech. Well, I haven't heard any speech so far. See if we can catch this ghost. The ghost to go over the yeah, no speech. Usually get Ghostbusters, and he slimed me. Let's see if we got this slimed me there. Right, let's point these in a stupid direction like that. There we go. Yep, no, he slimed me. Disappointing. It's nice and colourful though, and it sounds alright. Sounds very much like the 128K version, music in game, etc. C64 is the best version. I did write a GP2X version of this. There's a video on my channel covering that somewhere. It was one of the live stream giveaways, I think. So let's switch it off. Let's just try something else. There we go. It's quite loud. One thing I've noticed, the SCC sound is a lot louder on the TFMSX here, but that, you know, bear in mind I've got a prototype TFMSX. Stephen did some modifications for the version that's out there for purchase and release now. Oh, I'm so bad at getting all of these in it. There you go. Like that. I didn't want double. Double was the most crap upgrade on this game. It's like the flaming thing in Golden, what's his name, Ghosts and Goblins, you know, that fireball. It's like that. God, you crap when you get that upgrade. Oh. It's a blessing actually when you die and you start at the beginning again with an opportunity to collect all your power-ups again. Ah. I messed that up. Ah, I messed that one up. Option. Oh, don't know what I did there. Circled around that bullet and then crashed into the bleeding thing. Are those bullets coming from behind? I think they are. It's like, how'd you get those up there? You obviously, oh, crash into that, that's how you do it. And you know, just sat here looking at this amazing little cartridge, just thinking about the implications of how it's implemented. How does it work? An MCU there to do everything in terms of the car and the SCC stuff is incredible, really, because it's having to be, you know, it's having to look at the address bus connections and control signals and things, you know, to determine, you know, is the Z8 trying to read from the ROM, or is it trying to write to something, the SCC, or the bank switching, etc. Let's just turn that down a touch. So he's got to be doing that on a fairly frequent basis, unless he's managed to cleverly trigger some sort of interrupt for certain things. But I don't know how you would do that on, you know, like on address range, for example, to kick in the address decoding. You'd have to be constantly, you know, a very frequent basis. You're obviously got to be running very fast. This faster than the Z80 by a long shot, 100 plus megahertz maybe, where you're looking at the address bus, check the address bus, has it changed, does the control signals change, is there a read taking place, is a write taking place, and then emulate within your MCU core there. So it's very clever, and the timing, you know, it might be one of those things that might put people off, and that might be in his reservations to start with, but you know what, he's nailed it, he's achieved it. I've played this for hours on so many different games. It's solid, it's rock solid, absolutely rock solid. So yeah, you don't necessarily need to use CPLDs and FPGAs and dedicated logic and stuff. Yeah, you can, someone like this, he's proven you can do it in an MCU. Something fun here for you. I had a USB power bank nearby, and the cable for this is a USB one. I plug it into a USB 5V power adapter. It's powering the TFMSX and the card and everything, and the memory stick. And I've got full 4 lights still on there. So I don't know, might get an hour or two out of that. It's incredible, you could use it on the move. Stephen suggested something like this actually when he was trying to prototype the machine, you know, the board, working on the second revision I think, and he was saying that you could get a little LCD screen, put it in a case and a battery, and have it as a portable MSX. That would be quite cool. But nevertheless, it's holding out okay. It's probably not pulling much in the way of current, to be fair. Right, here we are after the Easter weekend. It's the Tuesday, and he kindly sent me a message the day before yesterday actually to say he'd updated the firmware on it to 2.18, I think. So what I ended up doing is stick the jumper on and plug a USB cable into the computer, you know, USB to USB-C. I went to my USB-C port on my PC and then run the software, and it detected it okay. If you pull the jumper off, it then can't detect it. You've got to have that jumper on there. Anyway, so let's now see. I think he's done 2 changes. One of them is to fix the directory indexing problem. When you go in and out of folders, say on the second page, it would then start a page down. In other words, a black screen. Certainly in a folder where there's only 1 page of stuff, if you see what I mean. So there should be 2 things fixed here now. We should have that fixed, and we should be able to default with this jumper here to the short file name. So let's try without the jumper set to start with. Yeah, that is interesting. I could hold down the key to get the menu. There's another bug here. I'll point out this trim. The A is missing. We've got 0, B all the way to P. Why does A not display? We can go up and down a page, but we never see the A, which is a weird one, isn't it? Let's go into a folder and just see. It's going to be on long file names at the moment, I think. Oh, and we've still got that problem. Control characters and things, you know, scrolling the screen. So yeah, there's a bug there, as I say. So let's now put it back on short file names using the jumper here. Let's just see. I haven't got the wrist strap on at the moment. We don't feed like a zillion volts. Oh, where's that gone? A zillion volts into something here. Let's just get the wrist strap. His idea was to put these jumpers at this angle. I amazed myself sometimes, so there we go. You just keep them out of the way, but yeah, it makes them harder to put on and off. Let's try that. And I think we're on 8.3 file names here, because I can see the little thing there. If I go, and A's there now, look. That's interesting. Yay! So the jumper there now works. Now, we'll try the other thing to do with the directory indexing thing. Or the file index, name it how you want really. So like on the root here, if we go to the second page and we're going to say you'd go into a folder here, maybe the second one, and because we're a page down, it would show you the second page. It doesn't now. Now it goes to the first page, so that's actually working as well. Yeah, can't put RTAP on. It was pretty big, 384K, 512K. The ROM, you know, has obviously got a limit of 256K here. So just wrapping up here, there will be a future update video probably on firmware, because there's going to be the odd firmware tweak, etc. But my overall feelings of this, I'm blown away. It's absolutely amazing. Thanks ever so much for sending this to me to have a look at here. Thanks to Stephen Leary for coordinating that as well. It's very, very much, you know, sincerely appreciated. As was the TFMSX here. I really enjoyed building this like year before last, you know, over Christmas period there. It's an excellent companion to the TFMSX because, well, you've got limited I/O here. You've got the, you know, you've not got a tape port on this version of the TFMSX here. So having cartridge slots, it's ideal. If you've got a TFMSX or if you want to get one of these as well. There are a few places building and selling these, but you can build one yourself. You know, if you watch some of the other more complicated builds on my channel, including the TFMSX, it may give you the confidence to have a go at trying to solder a chip like that on there. And then the only other thing are the small little LEDs. You need to make sure you don't overheat those tiny little things. Use magnification. You know, you don't necessarily need a microscope. You could use one of these things, which I don't know, 10 or 15 quid. Which my parents got me years ago, to be able to see what you're doing. Yeah, and very tiny resistors and caps and things, and the regulator, that little 7.4 series down there, it must be a Schmidt or something like that, or some logic, you know, a single gate logic. It's tiny, it's a tiny little thing. But there's not much on it. You know, you've got, I don't know, 20 or 30 components on the underside there, and little other than LEDs, and you don't even need the jumpers. Well, you perhaps need that one, but you could bridge with a piece of wire while you program it. And then you've seen how I connected it to PC just with a USB-C cable, but you could use USB-A to USB-A instead of C. And then the software is available from the website there for the downloader, you know, the program that you use to flash and program these. And you saw the process, it's dead straightforward. And then you just need a FAT32 format card that says Windows 10 on it there, Win 10. I'm going to pull it off and stick MSX on it. Yeah, so really simple, effective design. Economical. I can't imagine it being very expensive. I'll bet you could buy one of those chips for about £3 or £4. You know, so yeah, anyway, absolutely brilliant. Blown away. So watch this space for future update on firmware and stuff, and we'll perhaps test some more games and things moving forward as well on the TFMSX here. I do hope you liked the video. Please give it a share and a like if you can. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button down below. I'll catch you in the next video.